Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. We're going to start by talking economic development because we had a really incredible week. Then we're going to move to our flooding update with some new announcements in there that hopefully can bring some relief to an area that, in fact, had to evacuate at one point during this flooding. We'll talk a little bit about COVID and a few other updates. But we're going to start with economic development because even as we are facing natural disasters, even as we're facing challenges of the present, we have to keep moving forward. We are in a time where we have the opportunity and the chance to move our state's economy ahead of so many others. And don't let anybody tell you that we're not building the economy of the future, because the numbers don't lie. This week, with today's announcements, we will have announced 1,450 new jobs in 1 week, more than $398 million in new private sector investment. Those jobs are coming to Breckenridge, Garrett, Boone, Hardin, and Barron counties. So let's start by some of the announcements that came out earlier this week. First up, Atlas Machine and Supply Incorporated is constructing a new 32,500 square foot facility in Hardinsburg. The operation will serve as the headquarters for the Louisville-based Field Machining Division, performing on-site industrial repairs for manufacturers throughout the United States and around the globe. Atlas leadership is investing nearly $3.5 million in creating 78 good-paying jobs in Breckenridge County with this project. And this is exciting. This company is a fourth-generation family business that has operated in Kentucky for 115 years. It began with a focus on elevator design and manufacturing, and it has grown to service a wide variety of machinery for all types of industries. Manufacturing is a vital part of our state's recent success, and the service of equipment at those facilities is an aspect that cannot be overlooked if we want more future growth. Atlas plays a critical role in keeping businesses in Kentucky and elsewhere operational, and we are extremely fortunate to have them in our state. I greatly appreciate this quality homegrown employer's continued commitment to our Commonwealth, to our workforce, and we look forward to this new part of their business opening in the near future. This week, we also announced Bluegrass Bottling LLC's new facility in Lancaster. This is another Kentucky-based company and a woman-owned business that was established in 2020. Its services include blending, proofing, brand development, labeling, specialized packaging, and design for various branded spirits. The company currently operates in Garrett and Lincoln counties and employs 14 people. That number is going to more than double. With this new bottling facility, as Bluegrass Bottling will create 27 new good-paying jobs with a $6.25 million investment. The 50,000 square foot operation will be known as Poor Ridge Distillery and will more than double the company's storage space. This is a great project for Lancaster and Garrett County, and I am happy to see the company retaining its existing workforce in Lincoln County as well. Bourbon is a nearly $9 billion industry. It is a signature industry for us, and it's growing at an incredible rate. Since I've been governor, more than $1 billion of new investments in spirits, something we haven't seen in any previous, 10 years. The industry stands to benefit as more women and minority-owned companies thrive within the sector. Thank you to the leaders at Bluegrass Bottling for growing in the Commonwealth and contributing to the continued success of bourbon in the Commonwealth. On Tuesday, I had the honor of joining Summit Packaging Solutions to cut the ribbon on the company's new Operations Center of Excellence in Boone County. These aren't even included in the new jobs because these had already been announced. But while a ribbon cutting is a fun event, what it means is the start of operations. It means the jobs are actualized. They're here and people are going to work. This 276,000 square foot facility is positioning the company for further expansion within the Midwest market, supporting new and existing customers throughout the region. Summit manufactures, assembles, and customizes a variety of different packaging materials and has seen tremendous growth since its acquisition by current CEO and former NFL running back Adam Walker. That success has led the company to Kentucky with an $18.3 million investment, creating 254 jobs, including 69 direct full-time roles. They've already hired over half of those and 185 contracted positions. This is a neat company, invested in Northern Kentucky and all of Kentucky. I got to meet employee number one for this facility. Exciting to see how excited their employees are to be a part of what they call Team Summit. And we thought that's a pretty good partnership of Team Kentucky and Team Summit. So very excited to have them here. It was great to meet their team that had flown in from Atlanta. So that brings us to today's new announcements that follow the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority's meeting. First up is Advanced Nano Products, which will now be the third battery supplier that we have announced since landing the Blue Oval SK Battery Park and Envision. Advanced Nano Products is located in Elizabethtown with a $49.6 million investment. The company will be perfectly located to supply carbon nanomaterials to nearby Blue Oval SK Battery Park and other battery makers in the region. A&P manufactures conductive materials to use in EV batteries. The project's creating 93 new jobs for Kentuckians at an average hourly rate of $40 an hour, including benefits. That is a lot of really good jobs. I've spoken extensively about how Blue Oval, SK, and Envision AESC gigafactories will continue to bring new opportunities in, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's been exciting in the last 3 weeks to see the first three, and you will see a bunch more. Advanced Nano Products is a South Korean-based company. We're proud to bring in more of SK's relationships. They've been in operation for more than 20 years, specializing in products for various markets, including EV and solar. And its EV business, which was established in 2016, so they've been doing this for a while. Already, the company's established strong relationships with well-known manufacturers. In just over 2 years, we've now announced $8.6 billion in EV-related projects that are creating over 8,000 jobs for Kentucky families. And I know here in the next month, those numbers are going to further increase significantly. We have cemented our status as the EV battery production capital of the United States, and we're not giving up that title today, tomorrow, or ever. We're going to continue to bring these companies in. I want to thank leaders at Advanced Nano Products for their decision to locate in Kentucky. We look forward to a great partnership. Today, we also have an announcement that MP Logistics LLC, another homegrown, woman-owned business that has been growing consistently in northern Kentucky, is doing another expansion. M&P was established in 2011, and it's expanded multiple times during its first decade of operation. Today, they're moving forward with plans to invest $4 million to establish a new headquarters in Florence. The project is going to create 210 full-time positions. At least 120 will be new jobs for Kentucky residents. These are sales, operations, and administrative jobs, in addition to high-end and middle management roles. M&P operates a wide range of transportation services, including dry van and refrigerated transport. The company's rapid growth has not gone unnoticed, as it was recently included on Inc. magazine's list of America's fastest growing privately owned company. M&P's growth also adds to our state's thriving distribution and logistics sector. Since my administration started, we've added 5,600 full-time jobs and $600 million in new investment in that sector. So thank you to M&P and their belief in Kentucky. Look, it's not just people from outside that are recognizing what we have and that our workforce is going to be there and that we are an economy that's going to leapfrog others around the country. It's also homegrown Kentucky companies continuing to have faith in us. And last but not least, I want to highlight Worldwide Technologies LLC and its continued investment in us. Worldwide Technology is going to be opening a new manufacturing facility in Glasgow with a $1.2 million investment that's creating 16 quality jobs for the citizens of Barron County. The location will boost the company's production of precision machine products, including heavy truck, defense, and medical parts. The project is another great reminder of the economic momentum we're seeing. Again, it's not just from outside companies coming in, but homegrown companies building up. The new location is the second new location announcement by Worldwide Technology in the last 16 months, with a previous announcement in Greensburg last year. Worldwide Technology started their business here in Kentucky 12 years ago with a single warehouse that employed 5 people. They now employ over 70 Kentuckians, and they serve over 50 clients. This adds to our booming manufacturing sector. Just in 2021, think about this, just last year, 13,900 new jobs, $10.5 billion in new investments in that sector. I want to thank Worldwide Technology's leadership for their continued belief in us. We will not let you down. All right, so moving from building the future to the challenges of our present, because again, we've got to pick our brothers and sisters in Eastern and Western Kentucky up. We got to make sure they don't stay down, and we have to make sure that our state and our people are not pushed backwards, but continue to move forward. So today's update on the flooding of Eastern Kentucky, we're still sitting at 39 fatalities in 5 counties, but we still have those 2 missing individuals. At this point, we're just hoping to give closure to those families. We can continue to pray for a miracle, but more than likely, the best outcome at this point will be closure. All wireless providers are reporting full restoration. 95+% of power outages have been restored. There's only 107 outages of places that can take power, where obviously a house still has to be standing. Water, major improvement too. Only 647 service connections without water. That's down from 40,000 at its height. We still have 7,430 connections under a boiled water advisory. And now only 3 water systems have limited operation. That's Breathitt, Letcher, and Hazard. Now the city of Buckhorn remains without water. This is an area where the infrastructure was just wiped out. But there are 2 relief efforts I want to mention that are ongoing. First, City of Hazard. It's been restoring its own water system and has begun pumping water to a holding tank in Buckhorn, which when filled will supply water to the city. Meanwhile, crews from Kentucky Rural Water Association plus organized volunteers from water companies all across the Commonwealth are checking 13 miles of water line between Hazard and Buckhorn for leaks. As a second option, an unused emergency line connected to the Breathitt County Water District will be tested within the next 2 weeks. If successful, it could apply water. It could send water to about half of the city of Buckhorn. To give immediate relief to residents in Buckhorn, state officials have redirected mobile showers, restrooms, and washer-dryer units, as well as water tanks from other areas that can work in tandem with the WOW cart already deployed to the city. Meanwhile, Team Kentucky continues to bring water to the residents, along with Water Steps Water on Wheels cart, currently distributing water in sites in Perry, Letcher, and Breathitt counties. Buckhorn and Fleming Neon, 2 of the hardest hit areas in general, but certainly in terms of water infrastructure. But I want the citizens there, if they can get this information, to know that there are multiple ways that we are working the problem, committed to getting them water, and just look at how many people from across the Commonwealth are coming together to try to make that happen. One of my favorite stories, one of my favorite moments, was about a week after I took one day and went to Western Kentucky. And I started out in the city of Martin, which has that water emergency. And I walked into their warehouse, which had so much bottled water. It was a testament to what we are now at in Eastern Kentucky. And when I learned that 2 of their workers in their water district were going to the east to help while they were still under an emergency, that's pretty special. And it shows what we do in Kentucky. All right, moving to sheltering. 380 people are being housed in organizations including state parks, churches, schools, and community centers. We have 354 of them in our state parks. So we're down to a couple dozen people that are still in congregate shelters. We have got to get them ultimately into non-congregate sheltering, whether that is a lodge or a travel trailer. And then ultimately we got to get people out of our lodges and hotels into better intermediate housing. That is moving from the emergency phase to the stabilization phase. So 354 people at Jenny Wiley State Resort Park in Buckhorn. Let's look at travel trailers. This is as of this morning when it comes up. Okay, so we have, I think it's 94 travel trailers that are now in 4 locations. And as you will see, there are 3 other locations that have now been identified that we are moving trailers to. We have about 100, maybe just a little bit over, travel trailers that we purchased for the Western Kentucky Tornado event. We're going to have about another 100 on the way. In between new ones that we have purchased. And it looks like once the agreement's finalized, we're going to be able to get a lot of them from Louisiana that are sitting and waiting and will be really cost effective. So at the moment, we have 233 individuals from 76 families in our travel trailers. Now, they are located at Jenny Wiley, Carr Creek, Mine Made Campground, and Crockett'sville Campground. And just to give you a little bit of background, you have to find a site that has water, has electricity, that you can then get inspected. These have to be on these facilities at least right now. And so when people sign up for this program on our website, please know that these are set locations that will be able to house you in. Now, media reports and rumors have inaccurately created some fear in folks staying in these trailers. There is not a 60 or a 90-day occupancy limit for these folks. We are going to make sure that we are there as long as necessary. I think what this stemmed from is there's case management that goes on with folks. So the occupants, when they come into these, so that FEMA can come along after us, because these are state travel trailers that FEMA then takes over, they sign an agreement stating their eligibility for continued sheltering will be renewed on a consecutive 30-day basis. What that means is we check in with them at least once a month. And that's what we need to do to see if they need other help, if they're getting back on their feet, if we can talk to them about other arrangements. But checking in each 30 days and re-upping it does not mean they have to leave after 30 or 60 or 90. Another eligibility condition for the program is that occupants have registered with FEMA. That doesn't mean if you're denied your claim, you get kicked out. But you do have to register with FEMA so we can try to transition these from a state to a federal program, which means you're going to be able to stay longer if you need to. So we went through this in the West too. People in one of our lodges, parks, thought they were going to get kicked out from some misinformation that came through a volunteer from a different organization. Listen, we know that rebuilding is going to be years in the making. We're not going to kick anybody out on the street. So to those that can hopefully help dispel that myth, this is a regular case management process. We'll be taking care of people long after 90 days. All right, going into FEMA, another important part of stabilization. To date, 12,161 total applications. Approvals 6,116. Thus far, they've put out $49.1 million, $39.7 in housing assistance, and $9.4 million in other needs assistance. There are obviously a lot more folks out there in those numbers that need help. Only 2,553 of those have currently been deemed ineligible. Continue to go in and to see FEMA representatives, appeal, but in many instances, you don't even have to appeal. You can go see someone, give them the documents that they are missing, and hopefully get your claim approved. Remember, FEMA's doing about 6 new things they haven't done anywhere else, from calling everybody who's been denied to a texting program. But I think the biggest one that they're doing is now having approval authority on the ground in the disaster recovery centers. So if you were struggling with your claim, go talk to somebody. The people on the ground since the beginning have wanted to help. They can hopefully give you the best information. And listen, FEMA's got to do better, but they are doing better. Since we started talking about the need to change culture, we've gone from about 37% approval to what now, over 50%. We need to do better than 50%, but it is a marked improvement. I think it's a marked improvement on how, in many instances, they've responded to other natural disasters. We're going to continue to push them. I will say they're listening, and we know that they've got to do better. But just to give you an idea of how challenging this is, on the rebuild. The maximum you can get from FEMA is about $37,900. For some of these individuals that lost the private bridges to their homes, those could cost $55,000 just to replace. So a major challenge on the rebuilding that's going to take a lot of innovation. Also, disaster unemployment benefits have been approved. And it's really important for folks to know that if the worry is survival from week to week, we need to get you into our programs. Our safety net is set up for that type of thing. That is unemployment, disaster unemployment, and SNAP benefits. If we get you in those programs, it means you're not as worried about trying to get X $100 from this charitable group or that charitable group from week to week. This is part of stabilizing our people. So disaster unemployment, people can apply online through the Kentucky Career Center, kcc.ky.gov. They can call 502-875-0442. The deadline to apply is September the 6th. Survivors in the individual assistance designated counties also have a few other options, but let me stop here. This and SNAP benefits, if you qualify for, and you've been devastated, we need to get you on these. These are ways that we can help get you back on your feet, workforce training, food that you may need. Survivors in IA designated counties can also apply for $500 in critical needs assistance from FEMA, as well as the $300 Clean and Sanitize program. There's one other thing that's going around out there, and it's some people thinking an initial amount provided by FEMA is the total award they're getting. So if you report damages to FEMA and receive a dollar amount between $179 and $195, it's most likely to pay a contractor to inspect and provide an estimate of the cost to repair disaster-related damage to your HVAC, septic system, well, retaining wall, or single-family road or bridge. So I'm trying to help FEMA's communication here. If you have applied and all of a sudden it says you're approved for $179 to $195, and if it were me, man, I'd be mad. I say I went through all this application process and that's nothing. Talk to FEMA. That may well be they're paying for a contractor to come out and to give you an estimate. And after you receive the estimate, go, they say file an appeal, go to the Disaster Recovery Center, give them the estimate and get it added to your claim. Probably shouldn't take communication like this, but if we can get this information to folks, we can save them a little bit of worry and also hopefully get them more money. FEMA's also deployed inspection teams consisting of inspectors, a member from the Disaster Survivor Assistance Team, a member from the National Processing Center, and a local official to perform inspections, provide updates, and answer questions. There's also free legal assistance that's being provided in Breathitt, Clay, Floyd, Knott, Leslie, Letcher, the counties that have been impacted. Survivors facing these issues who cannot afford an attorney can call the KBA Young Lawyers Section Disaster Relief Committee hotline. I don't think we've had this one before, at 844-478-0099. We'll get that out on our social media, 844-478-0099. It goes first to a voicemail. People ought to know that. And then they will call you back. This is the KBA Young Lawyers Section, which I remember we started a contest to raise dollars for food banks together and doing another really good thing. So we look at FEMA, about $48 million paid out, National Flood Insurance Program. First number I've seen, $9.1 million paid out. U.S. Small Business Association, $20.3 million approved. And it breaks down to $19.9 million for homeowners and renters, and $415,000 for business. So some homeowner repairs will go through the U.S. Small Business Association. That's $20 million that you can that have been paid out to ultimately help people rebuild. To further assist disaster survivors, SBA announced recently its deadline for the first repayment, first bill you got to pay, will be 1 year after the date the loan was signed instead of the standard 5 months. You can get a disaster loan up to $200,000 for homeowners to repair or replace. Homeowners are eligible for $40,000 to replace disaster damaged or destroyed personal property. So the $200,000 is your real estate. Your second is your personal property. Filing deadline to return applications for physical property damage, September 28th. All right, schools. Man, our superintendents and our school districts have worked so hard. There are 25 schools in the impacted area. 14 are already in session. 6 are going in session next week. 4 are going to go in September. There are 14 buildings that are damaged throughout the counties. All right, so that in many ways is our stabilization phase. And so while we aren't there yet, when we think about the rebuilding phase, we're thinking about housing, private bridges, and resiliency. A big part of that has been our Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. Thus far, what we have done is paid for every single funeral, all 39, so nobody has to seek reimbursement. The least we can do is grieve together. So today, I'm happy to announce the second set of payments that are going to go out. We are starting the process to get an additional $500 above and beyond FEMA assistance to uninsured homeowners and renters. That as long as it doesn't make you FEMA ineligible, and there are just a couple cases, if you've qualified for FEMA assistance, we're going to work to get each of those individuals or families an extra $500 in the coming weeks. In Western Kentucky, over $2 million in supplemental assistance was paid to 1,360 uninsured homeowners and renters. Of course, the two areas are going to be different. We're going to have more people that are going to qualify for it here than there. Nobody has to apply for the money. If you're eligible, we're going to know because we're going to get the data directly from FEMA as it updates to get these dollars out to you. So to date, the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund has raised over $8 million from 35,954 donors. Each of the dollars will go to help individuals and families, but I will say more is needed. At this point, we had about 40-something million in the Western Kentucky Relief Fund. That allowed us to leverage dollars to rebuild 300 new homes. That's part of how housing is being done in the West. It allowed us to have a program to help out farmers, and it allowed us to work with local disaster recovery groups on things like repairs and things that people had lost. There are many more funds. That's what we were able to achieve in the West is a best practice called a one fund. There are many more funds in the East. We're doing our best to coordinate with them, needing to know where dollars are going so we're not duplicating administrative costs, and ultimately so we're able to add to the help we can give to people. I'd ask those other funds that are out there, join us on what we're doing here. For those that we are able to qualify, provide an additional on-top amount for things not covered by FEMA. We invite everybody to participate. Debris removal. We're now 15,904 tons of debris removed from state and county right-of-way through Wednesday, up from 12,000 through Tuesday. So just about and 1,603 tons of debris removed from waterways through Wednesday, up from 1,104. There is always a point, especially we get all the private contracts put in place where all of a sudden the pace picks up and people around it see it. We are there. I do a call just about every morning. I'm able to join with all the county judges and mayors and emergency management directors from the counties that are hit, and they are all saying the same thing. You ought to see what's happening. You ought to see this creek that was littered, one of the worst hit, and how quickly it's coming up and what it means. So crews are on the ground removing debris from waterways and in the right-of-way along roads. Property owners should contact VOADS for assistance in moving debris into the right-of-way. These are skilled volunteers. Their helpline is 606-268-0896. If property owners are separately and safely moving debris to the right-of-way, that means the edge of the roadway, contact the debris hotline, 855-336-2337. Bridges, about 1,098 state and county bridges that we've inspected. 75 need to be replaced, 75 need to be repaired. That doesn't even get into the more than 1,000 private bridges that have been wiped out or right now can't be crossed. We've replaced a little over 3,000 driver's license and state ID cards. All right, next one is a new and, in my opinion, a big announcement for today because it's going to help us solve a problem that not only sent hundreds of people into an evacuation during this flooding, but almost broke during a previous flood and could have caused the same. So today, we're announcing the awarding of a contract to stabilize and strengthen the earthen dam that holds Panbowl Lake at Jackson. The North Fork flooded downtown Jackson last month, and we had to advise residents to evacuate as the water nearly came over the highway. The river also flooded the city in February of 2021. In both events, water from the North Fork seeped through the roadway embankment. The dam also carries Kentucky Route 15, a main north-south artery that runs right through the city limits of Jackson. The stabilization project involves installing a vertical wall called a cutoff wall that is drilled into the ground to prevent the water from seeping into the lake. It is a $5.9 million project. The contractor is Schnabel Foundation Company. Farther down the road, there's a plan to widen Kentucky 15 to 4 lanes in the Jackson area. That effectively double the width of the dam, providing further reinforcement. The plan is under development. It is not an active project yet, but listen, we've been working really hard to get to this point. I have now flown over this dam, this embankment twice, wondering and seeing if it's going to fail. So we got a video from a great mayor, that is Laura Thomas, who we had to get someone to track down in the midst of this when cell phone coverage wasn't there in the middle of the night. As her and KSP, we had to advise to evacuate this area of Jackson. We get this project done. Hopefully people will never have to worry about that again. We got a video from Mayor Laura Thomas from Jackson.
I'm so excited to hear that they're going to fund the dam repairs or the reinforcement of this embankment that has caused us so much grief over the years. We definitely want our residents to feel safe in their homes, and we want the businesses to feel safe, and we're very grateful that Transportation Cabinet and our governor has recognized that this is important for the safety and well-being of our travelers as well as our residents.
This is when we talk about resiliency and a problem that we've seen, this is going to be a big deal for the city of Jackson. We also need to get them a swift water rescue boat. We're going to work on that. Disaster SNAP, that's food assistance, launched yesterday, August 24th. As of 4 p.m., 1,012 applications had been taken by phone, and another 830 at the Department for Community-Based Service offices or the 3 disaster recovery centers. Floyd, Knott, and Letcher is where they are right now. The first day of DSNAP in Eastern Kentucky surpassed the number of applications for the entire DSNAP period following the storms and tornadoes in Western Kentucky. For more information on food benefits, please visit our flood resource website. If you could put that up. This is an important way that the federal government helps. In response to the flooding in Eastern Kentucky, we're also extending a deadline for a program that we had announced. This is the $75 million American Rescue Plan Act funding to boost tourism. Remember, we announced that. We put out the application deadline. We've got to extend it. It's unfair to the tourism groups that are in Eastern Kentucky. So there are new deadlines that'll be going out on our press release and are going directly to these tourism groups. Just wanted them to know that we're going to make sure they're included and that they don't have yet another difficulty to deal with. So another important step that we launched yesterday to help those hurting in Eastern Kentucky was a special legislative session that started at 3 p.m. and aims to provide more than $212 million to help Eastern Kentucky recover over the next 6 months. I was joined by Senate President Robert Stivers, House Speaker David Osborne, and many other lawmakers. This is going well. Thus far, it has been entirely nonpartisan. The conversations have been productive. It is based significantly on the fund we put together for Western Kentucky, where we were able to deploy dollars very quickly. It's aimed at helping cities and counties with the expenditure, school districts that they have right now, knowing FEMA may take months to years to reimburse. It's about helping them in areas where FEMA doesn't reimburse. It's about repaving and repairing our roads, providing additional help to students that are displaced, repairing and rebuilding schools, some of which are going to have to be rebuilt in different places. Today will be the second day of the session. I think they come in at 4 p.m. today. I think there's been great reporting on the different buckets of money and where they go. Obviously, that can continue to be refined until it is fully passed. We expect it to be a 3-day special session, and it also provides some extra assistance in Western Kentucky by extending the deadline by which we have to obligate the funds. And then yesterday, we were able to continue to support Eastern Kentucky. When we talk about creating a bright future everywhere, even in the midst of this, we need to be investing. So we announced about $100 million in awards to different Eastern Kentucky counties. The first and largest is the Mountain Parkway expansion in Wolfe County, a $97.1 million project. Listen, this is the main artery road that goes through this part of Eastern Kentucky. And as we are able to 4-lane it, this section will mean it's 4-laned all the way from Winchester when it starts to Salyersville. It opens up the area for the attraction of new jobs. So many businesses in the past have said they need a 4-lane highway. After this, it's on to Prestonsburg with the goal, once that's done, we'll have 4 lanes all the way from Pikeville to Paducah. We say those terms a whole lot, but this will be the first time in our history that we do. I think every legislator, every leader there would say that this is a really big deal that gives new possibilities to those in the area. We also had $201,445 for sidewalk replacements and crosswalk improvements in Jackson. We had $25,000 for a park in Jackson as well. $3.3 million for water and sewer in Breathitt County, which we know needs it right now. Magoffin County, just under $100,000 for some road resurfacing. Just under $30,000 for Lee County in road replacement, and Wolfe County, where we were in, a little over $26,000 for Campton City Park. These are ways we continue to invest and ensure that not only do we get back up, but we move forward. Let's quick COVID-19 update. It continues to spread in Kentucky, though we're hopeful we're seeing a plateau or even a decline in some communities. Several counties are now back to the low COVID threshold. We continue to recommend masks be worn, especially by people at high risk where the counties are red. And if you're sick, stay home. Please stay home. Treatments are widely available. If you do test positive, talk to your doctor. The new set of pills, that treatment has helped a lot of people and made it much less severe once they have started it. And we continue to recommend vaccinations to everyone that is eligible, and make sure you get your booster, and if you qualify, your second booster. Monkeypox. Now 26 cases of monkeypox in Kentucky from 9 different counties. 1 female, the rest male. 1 in Barron, 2 in Christian, 2 in Fayette, 14 in Jefferson, 1 in Kenton, 1 in McCracken, 1 in Montgomery, 1 in Olden, and 3 in Warren. To reduce risk of transmission, avoid close physical contact with partners that have skin rashes or lesions. Anyone who's concerned they may have symptoms should talk to their healthcare provider, and anyone who's eligible for the vaccine, go get it and get it as quickly as you can. And finally, the Team Kentucky All-Stars. So many individuals and groups who've come together to help with recovery efforts in Eastern Kentucky. I'm grateful for every single person who's donated their time, has volunteered, or has provided money. But I want to highlight one group first that just announced a major donation that's going to have a huge impact. Last year, following the tornadoes, Kentucky's bourbon industry was there for our Western Kentucky families. They hosted a bourbon auction with all the proceeds going towards our relief fund, and it was the single largest donation that was made. This week, they did it again, making what will be the single largest donation. The Kentucky Bourbon Benefit auctioned rare and signed bottles, private barrel selections, and more, raised over $1.4 million for flood recovery efforts. On top of that, member organizations have donated another $275,000. They're also providing fresh water to impacted areas. I'm really grateful that once again, they are or have provided the single largest donation to a fund to help an area that needs it. They are our Team Kentucky All-Stars, and we are grateful. We'd also like to name some other incredible donors who've generously given more than $15,000 to the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. There's Kimi which gave $200,000. Diversified Gas and Oil Corporation, a little over $166,000. Texas Roadhouse, $70,000 contribution. KU, $50,000. Delta Dental, $50,000. AT&T, $25,000. Marathon Community Investment, $25,000. Mariner Finance, $25,000. Zaxby, $17,500. Farmer Mac, $15,000, and Invenergy, $15,000. Really appreciate these. When we have significant funds, we can leverage them in ways that can really help our people. This will be fully transparent, subject to open records. There will be legislative oversight. You'll see where every dollar goes. And other than credit card processing fees, there are no administrative fees whatsoever. Okay, we will open it up to questions. 3 journalists in the room. Let's start for once with Bodie.
Thank you, Governor. You mentioned earlier just about the extra $500 that will be coming as the second set of payments out of the donation fund. As you've already said, there are some folks that are getting just a couple $100 from FEMA and so forth. What can you say, to people that are still in congregate shelters, or I'm living in a tent, that they're seeing millions of dollars being donated right now. They're seeing millions of dollars going towards this relief bill, but they're not sure where it's going. They're still in these tough spots. What can you say to those people to kind of let them know that the state's on?
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do to stabilize you if you're in that situation is let us get you on disaster unemployment or unemployment. Let us get you on disaster SNAP or SNAP benefits, because those are going to be there more than just this week or this month. These are regular programs that can help you out. That'll get you stabilized more. As far as the state dollars that are coming in, we can tell you where every single dollar has gone. And what we're doing by coming above and beyond FEMA is ensuring we don't create a big administrative fee about verifying whether people have had damage or not. And we're providing this amount no matter how much FEMA has provided you. So if FEMA hadn't done enough, you're getting that amount. If FEMA's done a little better, you're getting that amount. So what that'll do is that'll end up being, we think, at least $3 million. And when you look at what we've raised, we can show you exactly where roughly $3.4 million has gone and to who. Even better, you don't have to apply for it. We can get it to you based on the information that we get from FEMA. I do think transparency is really important with all the funds that are out there, where the dollars are going. And these are good funds with good people. I do think that them making regular reports about it would be helpful, and we need to coordinate. There are just so many of them. I can't tell you how much in the end has been donated because I don't know how much each of the major funds have brought in. I don't. We could tell you with the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund, where that is more of the one fund model. So it's certainly my hope, my prayer, but also my intent to have as much of a coordinated effort as possible. But for the day-to-day dollars, let's get you signed up for the government programs that exist there to stabilize you. Make sure you go into a disaster recovery center. We can help you. Carolina.
Governor, over the last 10 years or so, we've seen significant population loss in Eastern Kentucky. Are you concerned that this flooding event is going to worsen that issue? And what can the state do to develop Eastern Kentucky into an area where people want to be?
Yeah, we have seen the depopulation of Eastern Kentucky as we've seen a changing energy economy. Listen, the people of Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky mined the coal that powered the Industrial Revolution. That's how we powered the Industrial Revolution. Helped us become the greatest economy in the world, helped us create the largest middle class the world's ever seen. It helped us win 2 world wars, but in many ways, the areas have been forgotten by the rest of the country with different changes that have occurred. Worried, of course, that this could cause more people to leave a place that they call home and where we need more as opposed to less Kentuckians. So a couple things that we can do. Number one, we can be innovative in this rebuilding process to make sure that we can put people where this never happens to them again, maybe where they have better access to healthcare coverage. Maybe their kids can be a little closer to school, but if we do this right, they can't have more debt, right? You can't put somebody that is only, maybe their family's only owned this one patch of land for decades. If we're going to ask people to do something different, we've got to have them in as good, if not a better position. than they were before this hit. The other thing is jobs. I mean, the way that we ensure that these communities persist and continue is jobs. And we've seen it in the West. We've announced about 400 jobs in Graves County since the tornadoes hit. And I got a little emotional up here a couple of weeks ago when I announced the first battery supplier was going to Hopkinsville, because it's just on the other side of the Pennyrile Park as Dawson Springs. Dawson Springs, I was very worried about a small town losing even more people. With that employer, which is going to grow, I think might even grow to 1,000 employees. I know that town is going to rebuild, and I know people are going to be living there. And so we've got to solve, number one, we got to solve the housing crisis that existed before. But how do we do it? How do we do it in a stable way that doesn't put people in harm's way? And number two, there's got to be real opportunity. And if we can, listen, if we're able, we have to meet this housing challenge, there's nothing we can't do. This will be the most difficult rebuild I think America's ever seen. And any company should want to be a part of a state or a community that can address something this daunting. Tom.
Thank you, Governor. The CDC, of course, declared monkeypox, go back to that a little bit, as a public health emergency here a couple of weeks ago. And the new number of cases that you have now is a pretty good percentage increase over a week ago. Is there any thought you and Dr. Stack may be talking about declaring a public health emergency here in Kentucky?
So we're not at a public health emergency for monkeypox yet, but we're watching it. One of the reasons you declare a public health emergency is to free up more resources. I think we do have a lot of resources that we're already bringing to bear. Listen, this is unlike COVID when it first hit. There's a vaccine for monkeypox and it works. There's just not enough of it. And so one of our challenges here isn't not knowing how to treat it. Thankfully, it hadn't killed anybody here yet. Not knowing the populations that it's impacting. We know how it spreads. It's about getting the vaccine to people who have been infected or might be infected. And that's really, as a country, getting that done. Now, the vaccine, I think the CDC waited too long to split it. We needed to get people started. That's why we continue to talk about our vaccinations as the first shot, because at least we have, some protection for you. But now that they've done that, I do think it's going to help. But monkeypox is something we're going to have to get significant vaccines out there for across the country. But a very different situation than COVID, but willing to declare it if and when it's necessary. Gil McClanahan.
Hi, Governor. How are you today? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Gil.
Oh, okay. Before I got on this call, I spoke with the judge executive in a county here in eastern Kentucky, and he told me that the judge executives in some of the eastern Kentucky counties want included in this $212 million package, they want included some kind of mitigation plan that would dredge the streams of eastern Kentucky, the creeks and the stuff like that, with the rationale that it could limit future flooding. What would you say to them, and can this happen? Your reaction to it?
Well, I've talked to a number of them about dredging and what that could mean. I mean, I talked to the mayor of Fleming Neon and residents from McRoberts who were there that believe that's been needed for years. Certainly, the Mayor Hazard talked about that yesterday as well. There are some environmental hurdles to get that done, both state and federal. So something that we will continue to work with them on. And we're going to have a continuing state of emergency here. The judges in the areas have worked with us, so we'll be able to extend that. So what's in the EK Safe, the Eastern Kentucky legislation that's going through, those aren't going to be the only things that we can do, but they are certainly appropriating money and setting conditions for some of the larger scale programs. So that's a conversation we continue to have and should continue to have, but I don't think it can be an excuse from not looking at innovative opportunities to get people to potentially a safer place. But they're right. It needs to be done in certain areas, and we're going to work with them on it. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. So you've noted that the COVID numbers are likely on a plateau, but they're still very high. And the New York Times says we have the highest rate in the nation for about 2 weeks. So my question is as far as public health messaging right now, do we need to focus on the plateau, which sort of gives people a sense of we're doing better, or the fact that the numbers are the highest in the nation? So what do we need to be saying to convey to people the level of caution they need to be taking around this virus right now?
Yeah, that COVID is still with us, and everybody needs to get vaccinated and get your booster. When we look at our numbers, there's a lot of people out there that could go out and get their booster now and be much better protected. Obviously, we're watching the news about whether we will have a booster targeted more towards Omicron, but we need people to protect themselves. And then especially if you're in the high risk category in a red county, you need to think about wearing that mask. And I will tell you, it's hitting folks everywhere. When you get it, some people are getting fairly sick. Now, not deathly ill, but fairly sick. So you also need to go to a doctor. The treatments now are better than they have ever been. It can take what could be a miserable or even a concerning, or maybe even possibly a deadly experience and get you feeling better fairly quickly. I think a lot of the phase that we're in now, where people are with COVID, is focusing on how early that you find out that you have it and getting that treatment. But prevention, especially if you have heart, lung, kidney disease, if you've gotten it before and it made you really sick, make sure you're taking the steps to protect yourself. And the number one thing you can do is get vaccinated, get boosted, or if you're in that age group, get that second booster shot. Austin Horn from the Herald Leader.
Thank you, Governor. I'm just curious if you could spell out just really clearly what the housing plan is from now to when there's potentially another appropriation. You spoke a little bit about longer term solutions further down the road after the next session or during the next session. But what does the intermediate look like for people who lost their homes? Is it travel trailers? Is it something else? Can you really just explain that?
Sure. In this middle phase, we're really focused on getting people stabilized. And that can be travel trailers. In the West, we had about 100 full. It can be where there are, apartments, other property. FEMA steps in and does a lot of that. They try to find every available place that people can live. And especially, 2-3 months in, we really saw a movement in the West towards that. It can be at one point temporary housing on people's property, but only if it meets certain conditions that don't put them in danger and is safe. The long-term housing, we're having to look at more factors here than I think have really ever been looked at. It's costs of some of people's existing plots, where again, the bridge is more expensive than the total amount that FEMA can provide, and that's even before a new home. Also, is where that new home would go safe? Let's look at schools. Do we rebuild a school? Or if we have millions of dollars to repair a school that is in a flood zone that we know is going to flood at least a little bit. So right now we're looking at big concept, innovative solutions that would get groups of people closer to services in an area that would not flood in the future. It means we're having to look at land, some of which is privately owned. We're trying to look at all of those options. It may be that we come together and we rebuild some towns that coal companies built more than 100 years ago. So a real challenge. But when we look at intermediate housing, it's a mix. A lot of it's going to be travel trailers, as it was after Katrina and others. It's all available housing in the area, and there is more. You start finding more than it looks like in the beginning, but certainly a bigger challenge in the East than it was in the West. And then other forms of temporary housing and repairs. Now, we're going to have a number of homes that aren't totaled, but just need repairs in this period. And as they are repaired, people will move back in them, and that will be a more permanent solution for them. That's what we've seen 7.5 months through the West. So it's a combination of our housing and sheltering program and FEMA's as well. Okay, I think that's all we have for today, but we're going to continue to provide updates, and things continue to change in real time, whether it's a new program that the federal government is offering. We brought in every federal agency just yesterday that may be able to provide help, and we talked through the challenges of rebuilding these areas of Eastern Kentucky. And I put out the challenge to them that this can't just be a what you tell us to apply for in a program that's not designed for us. This is going to take a major effort of people thinking differently, of intentionality, and of people getting through some of the bureaucracy, whether that's in the state or in the federal government, to get it done. But listen, we've been here updating just about every day since this started. We're going to be working on it every day until it's done. And the end solution may look different than what we think right now, because we're also listening. The major vision that's out there is coming from local leaders, and then we all try to refine how we are going to get there. It's going to be a lot of hard work for several years, but we are all going to make sure we do our very best. Day 2 of the special session. Really grateful for how the General Assembly is going about it. Look forward to continuing to work with them. Thank y'all.